People often betray Gunther Fehlinger-Jahn as an extreme capitalist, a fascist, but as a leftist myself, is he really that bad? At most, he's still a rat. He's a supporter of the European People's Party. Sure, I may be a socialist, but I'm a liberal socialist, and he's probably more liberal conservative. I'm economically center-left, he's center-right. Those can collaborate, unlike radical wings. I do believe in democracy regardless, and that's what he supports spreading. Well, of course not all. Most nations he opposes, such as Russia and China, are not strongholds of democracy, while countries he supports like Germany and Ukraine are. Ukraine has the right to defend itself. Gunther knows that, which is why he defends them. Despite the potential for socialism there, it's best the Soviet Union stays dead, as it will only lead to more negative views of socialism in the Western world, which would inevitably hurt the potential for socialism here. And if we are able to achieve it here, then we can make Russia have a better version. Ukraine has also suffered worse in the war. What Russia is doing, I believe, is genocide, and I'm saying that as an ethnic Jew. This is genocide that's happening in Ukraine, and it must be stopped. What Ukraine has suffered through in the war, especially in occupied regions, is mass murder, sexual violence, forced displacement, child abductions, and more. Ukraine is not that bannerite as Vatniks say they are. I'm saying this as an ethnic Jew, as I mentioned before, and to add salt to the wound, Polish, which both is what Bandera hated. If Ukraine was really bannerite, would they have collaborated with Poland? Also, one of the reasons I oppose Trump is often when outside of his presidency, he was pretty Russophilic, and even in his current one, he's been a bitch to Zelensky, and has threatened Ukraine multiple times. One of the first reasons I opposed Trump, way back when, was his collaboration with Putin, but now there's even more reasons, but that is still a reason. Fehlinger also has a point against neutrality. Neutrality can leave a nation open, which can leave it in threat. Indirectly, neutrality could be a reason Ukraine has been invaded in the first place. It didn't join NATO fast enough, as tyrants like Lukashenko and Putin arose. Poland and the Baltics, albeit for now, are protected because they joined NATO. But another major reason is because Putin be a bitch in general. If a nation is neutral, it can be a victim of imperialism eventually, no matter if you say NATO is imperialist or not. Despite leftism, I support NATO. Sure, random invasions could have been bad, but NATO was built as a defensive alliance. In fact, socialists have sided with NATO, such as Alexander Kwasniewski in Poland, Gyula Horn in Hungary, and more. So I guess, despite me lacking traditions, count as a neoconservative, I guess. But since I am a socialist, call me a Trotskyist, I guess, even though I'm more a left anti-communist. And Fehlinger probably does collaborate with us leftists. The NATO Doctrine is a satirist group that collaborates with him, but with their ideas genuine. And some factions of the group have been moderate socialists or social democratic like me. And Gunther Fehlinger-Jahn follows AOC and Bernie Sanders on X. And people take his hashtag decolonized country shit way too seriously. He's pragmatic, so yes, he'd probably soften up. He did some hashtag ex-Brazil, but while he hasn't said, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore, but he hasn't really been saying it anymore, so he's probably softened. And for the others, big nations have two choices, either decentralized or be decolonized. Thankfully, America shouldn't worry, because we have federalism engraved, and while Russia is Federation too, they've been authoritarian longer. We have been for 1 year, Russia has been for about 2 decades, 20 times more. And China has been since 1949. Russia also has extra time from when Stalin took power till Gorbachev erased things. I would embrace him to do hashtag ex-America shit because of Trump, because while I love America, I know he wouldn't actually want to hurt any Americans, just really American spirit. I know he's doing it in sight of freedom and probably won't actually destroy anyone. Also, he isn't exactly for Trump. he hasn't said, "Fuck you, Trump." But when Laura Loomer said the Republican Party has a Nazi problem, Fehlinger agreed, told Trump to fix it. And while Loomer is a fascist, honestly, you cannot really tell at first glance. I originally thought she was annoying Magazi until I realized it was worse. I believe Fehlinger also would probably support a Taiwanese takeover in China rather than leaving it in a desolate wasteland. And even then, I support his views for free Tibet, free East Turkestan, free Chechnya, and more. And while he may support Israel, and I don't, us leftists need to be aware, while we should protest against Israel, many people we've collaborated with are Zionists. Us socialists adore Michael Harrington for good reasons, but he was a Zionist. Gunther also knows what's best for the people. Some describe him as a contrarian, which, while not the best, is at least populistic, where I'm a left-wing populist. As I said earlier, Fehlinger follows Bernie Sanders and AOC. While he may not be much of a welfare guy, we allowed some anti-welfare libertarian and neoconservative Republicans, but we cannot stand some as extreme as Trump. Despite some jokes I may make, as a Democrat, I don't actually want to destroy the Republican Party. A lot of my friends are center-right, my best friend even, but we need to stop MAGA. Meanwhile, Fehlinger isn't as extreme as destroying welfare, as he's opposed to austerity, and he's in the European People's Party, which supports welfare. And while you may call his radical views on Serbia racist, he is even more pro-immigrant than other European People Party members. And while I'm somewhat a Titoist, as I believe in social revolution but revisionist economics, remember, Tito was a Croat, not a Serb. Milosevic was a traitor to Tito's cause. Yugoslavia was built upon ethnic collaboration, whereas, how I mentioned, Fehlinger supports immigrants. He also isn't as globalist as people say. He's talked about European sovereignty, but he supports so-called smart globalization, perhaps internationalism without globalism. Match this with calls for European sovereignty. This can be a collaborative mix of nationalism and internationalism, which is not only what I agree with, but Tito also agreed with. As a Slav, myself to other Slavs, Fehlinger is not Slavophobic. He's not against any Slav. And his plans for Khalistan sovereignty is strong. India may be a cool place, but there needs to be Punjab rights. One of the most major problems there is mistreatment of Punjabis, with there being apparent harassment. This is why we oppose colonialism in the first place, oppression, which Modi has done to Sikhs. This is also what Russia is doing to Ukrainians. Fehlinger is an amazing multiculturalist. He's also Catholic too, which as a Catholic myself, Jesus built his church upon justice. Abroad, he has a nice way to interact with people, which is why he often likes, replies, and follows people who embrace him. He actually follows me on X. The fact he embraced his usage in The Fire Rises shows some relation to what people want. I've seen more and more leftists too embrace Fehlinger. I've seen some trans supporters of him, and that's okay, as trans people are amazing people, and so is Fehlinger. I understand some other leftists may be confused, but hope you all understand, this is desperate times, man, too. It is time for collaboration between center-left and center-right, as extremists consume the world. In these dire times, where it's either fascism or communism, we must refuse both. It's time for freedom, it's time for Europe, it's time for NATO, it's time for Fehlinger's victory, baby.